Hello there. Welcome to the first episode in my series of reading the Bible in Common English. Today we're starting at the beginning, the book of Genesis. When God began creating the heavens and the earth was at first a shapeless, chaotic mass, with the Spirit of God brooding over the dark vapors. Then God said, "Let there be light," and light appeared. And God was pleased with it, and divided the light from the darkness. So he let it shine for a while, and then there was darkness again. He called the light daytime, and the darkness nighttime. Together they formed the first day. And God said, "Let the vapors separate to form the sky above and the oceans below." So God made the sky, dividing the vapor from above from the water below. This all happened on the second day. Then God said, "Let the water beneath the sky be gathered in oceans, so that the dry land will emerge." And so it was. Then God named the dry land earth, and the water seas. And God was pleased. And he said, "Let the earth burst forth with every sort of grass and seed-bearing plant, and fruit trees with seeds inside the fruit, so that these seeds will produce the kinds of plants and fruits they came from." And so it was, and God was pleased. This all occurred on the third day. Then God said, "Let there be bright lights in the sky to give light to the earth, and to identify the day and the night. They shall bring about the seasons on the earth, and mark the days and years." And so it was, for God made two huge lights, the sun and moon, to shine down upon the earth, the larger one, the sun, to preside over the day, and the smaller one, the moon, to preside through the night. He also made the stars, and God set them in the sky to light the earth, and to preside over the day and night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God was pleased. This all happened on the fourth day. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with fish and other life, and let the skies be filled with birds of every kind." So God created great sea creatures, and every sort of fish and every kind of bird. And God looked at them with pleasure, and blessed them all. "Multiply and stock the oceans," he told them. And to the birds he said, "Let your numbers increase, fill the earth." That ended the fifth day. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth every kind of animal, cattle and reptiles and wildlife of every kind." And so it was. God made all sorts of wild animals and cattle and reptiles, and God was pleased with what he had done. Then God said, "Let us make a man, someone like ourselves, to be the master of all life upon the earth and in the skies and the seas." So God made man like his maker. Like God did God make man. Man and maid did he make them. And God blessed them and told them, "Multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. You are masters of the fish and birds and all the animals. And look, I have given you the seed-bearing plants throughout the earth, and all the fruit trees for your food. And I've given all the grass and plants to the animals and birds for their food." Then God looked over all that he had made, and it was excellent in every way. This ended the sixth day. Now we begin chapter 2. Now at last the heavens and earth were successfully completed, with all that they contained. So on the seventh day, having finished his task, God ceased from his work he had been doing. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because it was the day when he ceased this work of creation. Here is a summary of the events in the creation of the heavens and earth which the Lord God made. I'm sorry for that slip up, by the way. There were no plants or grain sprouting up across the earth at first, for the Lord God hadn't sent any rain, nor was there anyone to farm the soil. However, water welled up from the ground at certain places and flowed across the land. The time came when the Lord God formed a man's body from the dust of the ground and breathed into it the breath of life, and man became a living person. Then the Lord God planted a garden in Eden to the east, and placed in the garden the man he had formed. The Lord God planted all sorts of beautiful trees there in the garden, trees producing the choicest of fruit. At the center of the garden he placed the tree of life, and also the tree of conscience, giving knowledge of good and bad. A river from the land of Eden flowed through the garden to water it. Afterwards the river divided into 4 branches. One of these was named the Pishon. It winds across the entire length of the land of Havilah, where nuggets of pure gold are found, also beautiful bdellium, and even lapis lazuli. The second branch is called the Gihon, crossing the entire length of the land of Cush. The third branch is the Tigris, which flows to the east of the city of Asher, and the fourth is the Euphrates. Let's take a quick pause, folks. This helmet's very heavy. The Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden as its gardener, to tend and care for it. But the Lord God gave the man this warning: "You may eat any fruit in the garden, except fruit from the tree of conscience, for its fruit will open your eyes to make you aware of right and wrong, good and bad. If you eat its fruit, you will be doomed to die." And the Lord God said, "It isn't good for man to be alone. I will make a companion for him, a helper suited to his needs." So the Lord God formed from the soil every kind of animal and bird, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever he called them, that was their name. But still there was no proper helper for the man. Then the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and took one of his ribs, and closed up the place from which he had removed it, and made the rib into a woman, and brought her to the man. "This is it," Adam exclaimed. "She is part of my own bone and flesh. Her name is woman, because she was taken out of a man." This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife in such a way that the two become one person. Now, although the man and his wife were both naked, neither of them was embarrassed or ashamed. The serpent was the craftiest of all the creatures the Lord God had made. So the serpent came to the woman. "Really," he asked, "none of the fruit in the garden? God says you mustn't eat any of it." "Of course we may eat it," the woman told him. "It's only the fruit from the tree at the center of the garden we are not to eat. God says we mustn't eat it or even touch it, or we will die." "That is a lie," the serpent hissed. "You will not die. God knows very well that the instant you eat it, you will become like him, for your eyes will be opened. You will be able to distinguish good from evil." The woman was convinced how lovely and fresh-looking it was, and it would make her so wise. So she ate some of the fruit and gave some to her husband, and he ate it too. And as they ate it, suddenly they became aware of their nakedness and were embarrassed. So they strung fig leaves together to cover themselves around the hips. That evening they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden, and they hid themselves among the trees. The Lord God called to Adam, "Why are you hiding?" And Adam replied, "I heard you coming, and didn't want you to see me naked, so I hid." "Who told you you were naked?" the Lord God asked. Have you eaten fruit from the tree I warned you about?" "Yes," Adam admitted, "but it was the woman who you gave me who brought me some, and I ate it." Then the Lord God asked the woman, "How could you do such a thing?" "The serpent tricked me," she replied. So the Lord God said to the serpent, "This is your punishment. You are singled out from among all the domestic and wild animals of the whole earth to be cursed. You shall grovel in the dust as long as you live, crawling along on your belly. From now on, you and the woman will be enemies, as will all of your offspring and hers. And I will put the fear of you into the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He shall strike you on your head, while you will strike at his heel." Then God said to the woman, "You shall bear children in intense pain and suffering. Yet even so you shall welcome your husband's affections, and he shall be your master." And to Adam God said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate the fruit when I told you not to, I have placed a curse upon this soil. All your life you will struggle to extract a living from it. It will grow thorns and thistles for you, and you shall eat its grasses. All your life you will sweat to master it until your dying day. Then you will return to the ground from which you came, for you were made from the ground, and to the ground you will return." The man named his wife Eve, meaning the life-giving one. For he said, "She shall become the mother of all mankind." And the Lord God clothed Adam and his wife with garments made from skins of animals. Then the Lord said, "Now that the man has become as we are, knowing good from bad, what if he eats the fruit of the tree of life and lives forever?" So the Lord God banished him forever from the Garden of Eden, and sent him out to farm the ground from which he had been taken. Thus God expelled him, and placed mighty angels at the east of the Garden of Eden, with a flaming sword to guard the entrance to the tree of life. Then Adam had sexual intercourse with Eve, his wife, and she conceived and gave birth to a son, Cain, meaning "I have created." For, as she said, "With God's help I have created a man." Her next child was his brother Abel. Abel became a shepherd, while Cain was a farmer. At harvest time Cain brought the Lord a gift of his farm produce, and Abel brought the fatty cuts of meat from his best lambs, and presented them to the Lord. And the Lord accepted Abel's offering, but not Cain's. This made Cain both dejected and very angry, and his face grew dark with fury. "Why are you angry?" the Lord asked him. "Why is your face so dark with rage? It can be bright with joy if you will do what you should. But if you refuse to obey, watch out. Sin is waiting to attack you, longing to destroy you, but you can conquer it." One day Cain suggested to his brother, "Let's go out to the fields." And while they were together there, Cain attacked and killed his brother. But afterwards the Lord asked Cain, "Where is your brother? Where is Abel?" "How should I know?" Cain retorted. "Am I supposed to keep track of him wherever he goes?" But the Lord said, "Your brother's blood calls to me from the ground. What have you done? You are hereby banished from this ground which you have defiled with your brother's blood. No longer will it yield crops for you, even if you toil on it forever. From now on, you will be a fugitive and a tramp upon the earth, wandering from place to place." Cain replied to the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear. For you have punished me from my farm and from you, and made me a fugitive and a tramp, and everyone who sees me will try to kill me." The Lord replied, "They won't kill you, for I will give 7 times your punishment to anyone who does." Then the Lord put an identifying mark on Cain as a warning not to kill him. So Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Then Cain's wife conceived and presented him with a baby son named Enoch. So when Cain founded a city, he named it Enoch after his son. Enoch was the father of Irad, Irad the father of Mehujael, Mehujael was the father of Methusael, Methusael was the father of Lamech. Lamech married two wives, Ada and Zillah. To Ada was born a baby named Jabal. He became the first of the cattlemen and those living in tents. His brother's name was Jubal, the first musician, the inventor of the harp and flute. To Lamech's other wife, Zillah, was born Tubal-Cain. He opened the first foundry forging instruments of bronze and iron. One day Lamech said to Ada and Zillah, "Listen to me, my wives. I have killed a youth who attacked and wounded me. If anyone who kills Cain will be punished 7 times, anyone taking revenge against me for killing that youth should be punished 77 times." Later on, Eve gave birth to another son and named him Seth, meaning granted, for, as Eve put it, God has granted me another son for the one Cain killed. When Seth grew up, he had a son and named him Enosh. It was during his lifetime that men first began to call themselves the Lord's people. There is a list of some of the descendants of Adam, the man who was like God from the day of his creation. God created man and woman and blessed them and called them man from the start. Adam was 130 years old when his son Seth was born, the very image of his father in every way. After Seth was born, Adam lived another 800 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 930. Seth was 105 years old when his son Enosh was born. Afterwards, he lived another 807 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 912. Enosh was 90 years old when his son Kenan was born. Afterwards, he lived another 815 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 905. Kenan was 70 years old when his son Mahalalel was born. Afterwards, he lived another 840 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 910. Mahalalel was 65 years old when his son Jared was born. Afterwards, he lived 830 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 895. Jared was 162 years old when his son Enoch was born. Afterwards, he lived another 800 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 962. Enoch was 65 years old when his son Methuselah was born. Afterwards, he lived another 300 years in fellowship with God and produced sons and daughters. Then, when he was 365 and in constant touch with God, he disappeared, for God took him. This Enoch, also wrote the Book of Enoch, which isn't in the Bible, but it's a biblical text. And according to that, what happened was God took Enoch and made him into the archangel Metatron. Spoiler alert, by the way. I mean, the text is thousands of years old. I'm not really worried about spoilers. Most people know how this goes. Methuselah was 187 years old when his son Lamech was born. Afterwards, he lived another 782 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 969, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the oldest out of all of them so far. Lamech was 182 years when his son Noah was born. Keep track of that name, Noah. It's going to be important real soon here. Meaning relief, because he said, "He will bring us relief from the hard work of farming this ground which God has cursed." Afterwards, Lamech lived 595 years, producing sons and daughters, and died at the age of 777. Noah was 500 years old and had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. I was about to say something about those 3 sons, but I guess that'd be another spoiler. We're actually about to read it here. It's not in some other book. Now a population explosion took place upon the earth. It was at this time that beings from the spirit world looked upon the beautiful earth women and took any they desired to be their wives. They're called the Watchers. The Book of Enoch actually details this. I'll have to read. Maybe I'll read that after this instead of moving on to Exodus. Then Jehovah said, "My spirit must not forever be disgraced in man, wholly evil as he is. I will give him 120 years to mend his ways." In those days, and even afterwards, when the evil beings from the spirit world were sexually involved with human women, their children became giants, also known as Nephilim, of whom so many legends were told. When the Lord God saw the extent of human wickedness, and that the trend and direction of men's lives were only towards evil, he was sorry he had made them. It broke his heart. You know, you have to be really poorly behaved to be immortal and break the heart of the creator of everything. Shame on you. Not you specifically, the person watching this, but like our ancestors way back, thousands of years ago. It's disgusting. And he said, "I will blot out from the face of the earth all mankind that I created. Yes, and the animals too, and the reptiles, and the birds, for I am sorry I made them." But Noah was a pleasure to the Lord. Here is the story of Noah. He was the only truly righteous man living on the earth at that time. He tried always to conduct his affairs according to God's will, and he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Meanwhile, the crime rate was rising rapidly across the earth, and, as seen by God, the world was rotten to the core. As God observed how bad it was, he saw that all mankind was vicious and depraved. He said to Noah, "I have decided to destroy all mankind, for the earth is filled with crime because of man. Yes, I will destroy mankind from the earth. Make a boat from resinous wood, sealing it with tar, and construct decks and stalls throughout the ship. Make it 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high." I think, well, okay. So they say that it would have to be much bigger to fit at least 2 of every animal. Well, there's 2 of the non-clean animals, meaning carnivores, and like 7 of all the other animals. People always say the ark would have had to be a lot bigger to carry that many of every animal in existence, which is fair, honestly. But you also got to consider a lot of creatures that we have now didn't exist back then. A lot of things that exist now evolved from things that existed back then. So, there has to be a little bit of give and take on both sides there. Like the ship might have had to be bigger, but there also weren't as many animals. It's a pretty serious debate matter. amongst scientists, historians, Christians, Jews, Muslims. Maybe the measurements are just different. I don't know. Okay, lost my place again. Oh, no. Construct a skylight all the way around the ship, 18 inches below the roof, and make 3 decks inside the boat, a bottom, middle, and upper deck, and put a door in the side. Look, I am going to cover the earth with a flood and destroy every living being, everything in which there is the breath of life. All will die. But I promise to keep you safe in the ship with your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring a pair of every animal, a male and female, into the boat with you, to keep them alive through the flood. Bring in a pair of each kind of bird and animal and reptile. Store away in the boat all the food that they and you will need. And Noah did as God commanded him. That concludes chapter 6 of Genesis. Genesis is actually really long. How many chapters does it have? Okay. We're about to start chapter 7 of Genesis. And in all, Genesis has 50 chapters. So I'm thinking we'll have to do this in more than one part, but for now, let's just continue on with chapter 7. We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Finally, the day came when the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the boat with all your family, for among all the people of the earth I consider you alone to be righteous. Bring in the animals, too, a pair of each except those kinds I have chosen for eating and for sacrifice. Take 7 pairs of each of them, and 7 pairs of every kind of bird. Thus there will be every kind of life reproducing again after the flood is ended. 1 week from today I will begin 40 days and nights of rain, and all the animals and birds and reptiles I have made will die." So Noah did everything the Lord commanded him. He was 600 years old when the flood came. He boarded the boat with his wife and sons and their wives to escape the flood. With him there were all the various kinds of animals, those for eating and sacrifice, and those that were not, and the birds and reptiles. They came into the boat in pairs, male and female, just as God commanded Noah. 1 week later, when Noah was 600 years, 2 months, and 17 days old, the rain came down in mighty torrents from the sky, and the subterranean waters burst forth upon the earth for 40 days and nights. But Noah had gone into the boat that very day with his wife and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. With them in the boat were pairs of every kind of animal, domestic and wild, and reptiles and birds of every sort. 2 by 2 they came, male and female, just as God commanded. Then the Lord God closed the door and shut them in. Let's take a quick break here. So, I guess now is probably a good time to explain a little bit about my religious views. I am a Christian. I'm a Methodist. You know. Um, Now, I'm trying not to like annotate or give commentary on what I'm reading as much as possible. I don't want to put any bias in there because maybe you're a Catholic, maybe you're an atheist. You know, everyone worships something, even if it's themselves. We all look for something to believe in. We all have to have faith in something. I mean, even atheists have faith in the concept that there's nothing. You know, but yeah. Personally, I take a lot of things in the earlier chapters of the Bible to be metaphorical, like the story of Adam and Eve. Probably a metaphor for the humanity's leaving of the nomadic lifestyle and beginning civilization. And of course, the Middle East is called the cradle of civilization because that's where it began. If you do the math in the Bible, it says then you come out with Adam being born on like October 23rd, 4004 BC or something like that. Obviously, the world is a lot older than 6,000 years old. Of course, this is another huge debate topic over historians, Christians, scientists, all sorts of people. It's not really for me to say, personally. I'm just telling you what I believe. Maybe you believe something different. That's fine. Um, it'll be a long time before we get to it, so I'll just recommend it to you now. Romans 14. It's a good reading. The Bible. It's also called the Epistle of St. Paul to the Romans, or the Letter of St. Paul to the Romans. It's known under both of those names. So, you're probably wondering, what is the deal with the helmet? Is this guy crazy? Well, to answer your question, yeah, I absolutely am crazy. Well, probably. You never know. But no, I'm a history guy. I really like history, especially stuff with the Crusades. You know, the whole Crusader thing is like that's my thing. You know, I'm all about I'm all about that stuff. It's really interesting to me. It's really neat. It's kind of a big part of my persona, really. Also, I really just feel more comfortable doing this with like a mask on instead of showing you my face. Makes me feel more comfortable doing it. Also, you don't want to see my face. Sorry, this isn't a face reveal channel. This is a Bible reading channel. If you want face reveals, go over to Bread Boys. They kind of have something similar going with the helmet. They're funny. Anyway, let's get back to this before I bore you with personal details any further. For 40 days the roaring floods prevailed, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth. As the water rose higher and higher above the ground, the boat floated safely upon it, until it finally the water covered all the high mountains under the whole heaven, standing 22 feet and more above the highest peaks. And all living things upon the earth perished, birds, domestic and wild animals, and reptiles, and all mankind, everything that breathed and lived upon dry land. All existence on the earth was blotted out, man and animals alike, and reptiles and birds. God destroyed them all, leaving only Noah alive and those with him in the boat. And the water covered the earth 150 days. I think that's where we're going to end today. That's the end of chapter 7. I don't know when I'll make another uh, episode, I guess. I guess we can call these episodes. But stay tuned. Of course, you're probably not going to be seeing this till a long time after I actually put it out. And I don't really know digital editing, so sorry if you're looking for anything like that. I'm not good with software for the most part. Just recording myself reading the Bible, man. Anyway, I hope you all have a good day or night wherever you are. Stay curious, everyone.